next couple days are gonna be very busy. Went down to my mother-in-law's. Her garden explodes every single year because they spent like decades building their soil. So even if they only put in a couple of plants, they produce like crazy, way more than they need. And then I am always willing to go down and pick up any extra. So this pickup, I got 18 pounds of green beans, 35 pounds of cucumbers, plus a box here with their first couple of tomatoes, a couple bell peppers. Overall plans for this over the next couple of days. I'm blanching and freezing green beans. Last year we only canned them. The kids did not enjoy them as much as frozen. So I'm gonna blanch and freeze pretty much all of these green beans. I wanna do maybe a half load, just a couple of pint-sized jars of dilly beans. And then pretty much all of these are gonna be made, all these cucumbers are gonna be made into dill pickles. I wanna do a small batch of sweet and spicy, but these cucumbers are mixed. There's English cucumbers in here, which are like fresh eating slicing cucumbers, and then there's pickling cucumbers in here. So I'm going to have to pick out the eating cucumbers, set those aside, only pickle my pickling ones. Today, I don't have dill. Dill didn't grow in my garden this year. I don't have enough to just like go out and pick and start canning all of these pickles. Some of them are in a little bit of a rough shape already. Some of these are from my garden as well, I must say, but most of this came from my mother-in-law's. When it comes to beans, we ate some beans fresh last night. The kids and I snapped all of these, so all I have to do is wash and start freezing. I have 3 bowls here because I kind of started separating them out. These ones are washed and ready to go. I might save those for fresh eating. These ones, I'm thinking this is what I'm going to blanch and freeze, and this bowl is going to be set aside for dilly beans. I think this should be enough to get us the couple of pints that I'm looking for to get us through a year. So that is the overall plan. So I need to get these washed, rinsed. I have my pot up on the stove to start blanching these, and then for storage, I just put these in. Usually I put them in gallon-sized Ziploc bags. This year I got some half gallons, which I'm thinking should be a meal-sized portion for my family. So I'm gonna shove these in half-gallon Ziploc bags. They're gonna freeze in one big chunk. I don't care about that because it's gonna be in a meal-sized portion. I'll open up the bag and cook it in one big clump. That does not bother me. If you want to skip that, flash freeze it, but I'm skipping that today. So I'm actually going to take these beans outside, and I'm actually going to wash them outside with the hose, keep the dirt outside, all the mess. And by the time I'm done with that, my water should be up to a boil. We're going to boil these for like 2 minutes, pull them out, let them cool, let them dry a little bit. So I'm going to get a towel up here on my counter so that I can do that. And then once they're somewhat cool, I'll start packaging them into my half-gallon Ziploc bags. I found mine at Sam's Club, and we'll start labeling them, getting them in the freezer for a year. That's what I'm going to work on today. And then at some point today, either myself or my husband are going to stop at a farm stand. I'm going to buy a bunch of dill for these cucumbers and the dilly beans. We'll probably work on that tomorrow. This week is supposed to do nothing but rain all week long, so it's a good week to have a lot of preservation projects to do. So I'm just going to work on this stuff slowly but surely over the next couple of days between homeschooling and all of the things. We made good time today. It's a little after noon. It's 12:30. Homeschooling's done for the day. We just finished lunch, and I figured we might as well do this while my kitchen is still a disaster. That way I'm only cleaning it once. So I'm gonna get these outside and start rinsing. Blanching any vegetable is to kill the enzyme that exists in all vegetables that starts that decaying process, that rotting process. So by blanching it, you kill that enzyme. It stops all that. It also helps retain color, texture, things like that. You could skip it if you really wanted to, but I wouldn't recommend it personally. However, I skip the blanching process when I freeze potatoes. So I guess play around with it, figure out what works best for you and your family, and if there are steps that you can skip that you don't really care about that still keeps the food safe, I say go for it. That's just me personally. Not everybody would agree with that. That's the cool thing about doing your own food, is that you can do it your way and what works for you guys. So my first round is about ready to go, and we're just gonna keep this process going until I get all of my green beans blanched.
Outside of growing tomatoes, green beans and pickles are two of our highest yielding things in our goal to be self-sufficient. The kids' favorite vegetable is green beans and broccoli, so the goal to grow and preserve a lot of those is really important. The fact that this year none of our broccoli took, we literally have zero broccoli. That means that I'm really banking on green beans to kind of push us further into that self-sufficiency goal. I will be purchasing some broccoli from a local farm stand to go ahead and preserve. That's not an issue for me. If I have the opportunity to support a local family farm, I'm going to do that with no hesitations. However, I do love being able to utilize even something like my mother-in-law who just has extras and needs to get rid of it. I'm always happy to take it and preserve it, and she's always happy to give it as long as I am preserving it, doing something with it, and it's not just like sitting in my kitchen in a box rotting away until I end up like throwing it out. So never do that. I always make sure that I go through them and we're using them. And it's just a prime example of kind of the whole community coming together to support each other in local food and just trading and making sure that everybody has what they need. My local farm stands have always been really busy, but I can tell you this year they have been popping. I mean, there's always a line. It doesn't matter what time of day or what day of the week. There are always cars and lines of people waiting to buy produce, and I absolutely love that. I don't know if that's because of all the food recalls and all of the like parasite outbreaks and things that are just pushing people away from larger corporations and making them want to shop small more often. I'm not really sure, but whatever the case is, I absolutely love to see it. That being said, we are well on our goal to a year's worth of green beans. We ended up getting 8 half-gallon bags in the freezer, which is fantastic. That brings us to almost 1 half-gallon bag of green beans a month for my family. Not quite where I would like to be. I'd like to be double that, but for our first batch of beans, not bad. Now it's time to deal with all of these pickles or cucumbers. We make these into slicing cucumbers. I found over the years of preserving that just happens to be the way that we like them best. How I end up preserving my vegetables really depends on what I still have on the shelf from the year prior or from prior years in general. So while I was going ahead and slicing up those cucumbers, I pulled some of my kids outside from the yard where they were playing in the hose and asked them if they would start prepping jars and help me pack in. So one of my daughters went ahead and packed in some green beans that we left out so that we could make a couple jars of dilly beans. I have come to realize I don't need a ton of dilly beans every year. We as a family probably only eat like 3 or 4 jars of dilly beans a year. I give a couple away every year as well. But because I know that green beans are going to be a little short this year, I wanted to make sure that we had more in the freezer than dilly beans. So we only did 4 pints of dilly beans, and then we ended up packing about 30 jars of sliced pickles, which is fantastic. I need about, this is going to sound crazy, and it's a really wide gap, but I need about 52 to around 100 jars of pickles a year, just depending on how quickly we go through them as a family. If we're slower on pickles, I need 52 jars. If we're heavier on pickles that year, I need closer to 100. So I always do as many as I possibly can because it's just a lot. We need a lot. That being said, this was a good opportunity to pull everybody together while the baby was napping to go ahead and get these packed. And these are the moments that are always really fun because It's just those things where sometimes we turn on a movie or we'll turn on music, but this day we just talked and it was a lot of fun. And it really doesn't take that long when you have lots of hands coming together to get a job done. So while my two older girls were working on packing jars, I went ahead and got my pickle brine up on the stove so that I could start filling up our jars with our pickling brine. I will leave that recipe down below in the description box for you. It is my one and only pickle recipe that I use. However, this year that is changing. I do plan on making a batch of sweet and spicy pickles for some of my kids, but this is a kosher dill recipe. It is our go-to. This is what we use for relish, for all of our pickles, for our dilly beans, any of our mixed veggies that we do that are pickled. This is our only brine. Like I said, will leave it down below for you guys. If there is one recipe I get asked for most often when it comes to canning, it is a pickle recipe. The course of 2 days, we went ahead and processed over 50 pounds of fresh garden produce to go ahead and get on the shelf, headed into another year of reaching our goal of self-sufficiency. I hope wherever you guys are, you're having a fantastic day. And as always, I will catch you guys in another one. Bye.